Hello and welcome to Racers Now, sponsored by Welcome Estates for all of your Spanish property needs. And this is the 4th edition of our bookmaker interviews. This time we've got a southern representative, although he's not that south. We've got Michael Punchen, who bets under the name Michael Cannon on plenty of racecourses, and he's actually been to Huntingdon today. How are you, Michael? Thanks for coming on.
No, thanks very much for having me. Yeah, it was all right. I'm based mainly in the Midlands, but yes, I would go south more than I go north. Huntingdon was a bit drab and dreary. There's a few too many books and not enough punters, but a winning day was had. We got the races I got right, were paid for a lot more than the 3 races I got wrong. I think I lost on 4 and won on 3, but lost a bare minimum on 3 of them.
Yep.
Bloody Teddy Blue, Jesus Christ! Honestly, I saw that bugger at Musselburgh. Was not interested in the slightest, and then it doesn't. They ride it from the front today.
Well, you got a bad horse like that, dropped in grade, shook it out in front, and if he dogs it from there, it's gone forever.
Yeah.
The Racing Post put up next left at 2-1 last night, and I think a couple of firms went up 15-8. And I was going to put it up as my lay of the day, and by the time I got to the car park, it was 4-1. Ran accordingly.
So you may well have seen Michael on doing these racing previews, if you like, or end of day reviews, usually from the car park, somewhat similar to what SD does in his car. How long have you been doing that, Michael? And it's kind of taken off. You do some really good views on there and putting your opinions out there and betting accordingly.
Yeah, I started it probably early, mid-November. Didn't tell anyone, and it's the first time I've ever gone near social media. But a few people have got hold of it, and it just, I suppose it's like a snowball, isn't it? A few people retweet, like, and tell people. And at the end of the day, I just say my opinion. People can take it or leave it. It's entirely up to them. I stress a million times, it's not a tipping service. These are the horses. I'm mainly looking for horses I want to lay. If I fancy a bit of a lean with a double figure price, I might give it a mention. And I have stabbed out a couple of winners. But most meetings, there'll be a lay of the day. Although not every meeting, I'm not going to invent something. I'm going to stand for a few quid just because I should do. It's not like a daily competition. But I am on a bit of a roll. The last 9 lays of the days have all got beat. They tend to be around about 5-2 or less. I mean, for example, Potter's Charm, the last race at Cheltenham on Trials Day, that was 1. That was odds on. But today was a bit more. It was an easier find today with Bettis in the novice hurdle, 5-2. I just thought that was, laying that. It needed a miracle to beat Steve Presenting and the other runners. But at the end of the day, game's all about opinions. But yeah, people seem to be liking it on Twitter, and I've been doing a lot of stuff like this for the last 2 or 3 weeks. But someone once said there's no such thing as bad press.
Yeah, absolutely.
But Michael, you said to Simon Knoll that you'd never go into social media, so it's quite an about turn, isn't it?
It is an about turn, but that was the summer of 23, and eventually it's a bit like taking debit cards at the races. You have to buckle eventually, else you don't take a bet. And
do you really think you wouldn't take a bet without the debit card?
You wouldn't take a bet, but you wouldn't take nearly so much. I mean, I know it's a staggering sum that we take on the card every year, and I wouldn't want to lose that turnover.
What kind of percentage do you do it on debit card at the moment?
I would say, some days it can be as low as 1 or 2%, but if you go down south, places like Ascot, especially, and Newmarket, it can be north of 10%. And it is sometimes some genuine proper punters. And listen, everybody's pocket is different. Just because someone's betting £5,000 doesn't mean they're all in. That could be the same as me or you having 20 quid on. But a lot of these people, they don't carry £5,000 around in their pocket.
Yeah, interesting.
But the racecourses aren't helping you, are they, Michael? I mean,
No.
There are this thing about a cashless site. I mean, some courses say the on-course bookmaker. So the Gordon Brown is very good at Haydock, for example, for saying over the tannoy, the on-course bookmakers will take cash. But when you display on the website, it's a cashless site. I'm afraid some books are instantly on the back foot.
Yeah, I mean, they don't do any. I mean, some racecourses, you get your QR code comes through as an email for your ticket when you purchase one. And at the bottom in small print, it might say cash is taken by the on-course betting facilities, whether that be us or the Tote or BritBet or AskBet or whatever operation is going that day. But the amount of punters who come up and they say, oh, didn't realise we could use cash. And I just drill it into them. Come racing, cash is king, cash is king, cash is king. And obviously, I'd rather never take a debit card bet again. But you have to be realistic that they can be quite quick if people are ready. And if you turn them away, you are costing yourself turnover. And we're not in a position to be that flippant, I don't think. I understand why some books don't want to take it, but me personally, I have a minimum bet. You know, I'm not going to let someone have £2 on. Having said that, I've been a minimum £5 for a decade at least. You know, if someone gives me two £1 coins, it's quicker to take it and give them the bet. But if they stand there with a £20 note and say pound each way £6, pound each way £9, I politely point to the sign, which is clearly displayed, £5 minimum bet. I mean, it is staggering in the last, well, we're all the same age, you know, the last, give or take, the last 30 years, you know, the price of everything, drink, a bag of chips, cigarettes, houses, has gone up 5, 10, 20 times. And yet the average bet on course has barely moved. It is quite staggering. But we are in a profession where I can't make SD have a bet with me. I can't make him have a larger bet than I want him to. So we have to take what we can. But to be honest, the pound each ways and the smaller bets, you know, I'll politely move them on.
Yeah. Okay. So obviously, I'm trying to think when I last had a bet with you, and it's a very long time ago, if I have at all. So I'll be at Huntingdon next Sunday. What?
I can't say as I recall it either, but go on.
Well, I'll be at Huntingdon next Sunday. And I will know where the value is next Sunday, and it's dead simple. I'll try and move one on the machine and back it with Jack Wilson if he's there, because that bugger will just go out then. I mean, it's just bonkers. And then you will stand somewhere near Big Jim, who will be giving ridiculous place terms, and John Hutchinson, and I'm done for the day. So why?
At the end of the day, everyone's got an
Do
opinion.
you offer value compared to them? Is where I'm going.
Well, of course, I mean, like today, what was it called? Betty's thing, the thing I didn't fancy in the third race. I think it was 3.45, 3.5. There wasn't 100 quid either side, and I was 5 for 2. You know, there was bits and pieces for it, and you know, but that's the position you're in. If you really want to get a horse, you have to go. We don't want to get sidetracked by using the machine too much, but we can't say it's not there because obviously it is. But the liquidity in there is next to nothing. But I would never tell anyone what they should or shouldn't do with their own money, because that's entirely up to them. You know, if I want to go 20 to 1, I'm going 20 to 1. Sometimes I'm going 20 to 1 because I don't think it can win. Sometimes I'm going 20 to 1 because it's 28 on the machine. That said, it might not be in a handicap. It might not be 5 to 1 a place. But there's got to be swings and roundabouts. At the end of the day, you're paying a lot of expenses, a lot of time and effort to go, but there isn't much point going and offering the machine prices. You can do that sat at home.
Well, yes, you can, but you can't lay them quite as much. So, obviously, I will see you at Huntingdon next Sunday, and I'll try and have a bet with you. He didn't know what OXO was before, but never mind. See OXO handicap chase next week.
Over my head.
Why? As a punter, I've got a rule. I live next to Haydock Park, and roughly speaking, the further north, if I turn left on the M6, I know for a fact that I will get better value than people in the south. Now, is that just me being silly, or is there a point there?
No, I think northern bookmakers, you know, they've got their opinion. Southern bookmakers have got their opinion. I think it's a lot more cutthroat up north than it is down south. That said, for example, Ascot on Saturday, I believe a horse was 72, 73 on the machine, 1.72, 173, and there was 8 to 11 freely available on the rails, and people were having proper bets. You know, it's all down to each individual person. And at the same time, if you've got punters forming an orderly queue to back a horse at 4 to 1, shall we say, and it is in this particular instance 5.6, why would you go 9 to 2? It's a bit like owning a market store and selling your apples for £1.20 a pound, and then think, I know what I'll do. They're queuing up at £1.20. I'll charge them £1. You know, it's not a profitable business. As a punter,
no, and you are there. But look, there are various ways to get to the end point of profit, but it can be particularly galling as a punter. And this is of course what I'm not saying you do this, but this drives race goers away. you know, when you've got things like the tracker is one of them. The tracker drives me absolutely insane for a few reasons. You know, you're not going to get any value, and the price just changes if somebody has a fiver on the machine. So there's that which puts people off, and then of course there is this situation, and I have a feeling I know what your reply might be to this. So if we've got a 16 runner handicap where they're a quarter, yes, the place terms are disadvantageous to you, but the same applies in an 8 runner novice hurdle when I'm trying to have, I don't know, 500 each way on a 3-to-1 shot. That's 5 on for a place or something like that. So why aren't the bookmakers going a quarter the odds in 16 runner handicaps?
You've answered your own question. The place terms are very normally 16 to 20 runner handicaps. They're normally disadvantageous. And the vast majority of racecourse people who go betting, it's more of a social event now. There are plenty of, shall we call them, pretend pro punters and a few pro punters who, you know, convince themselves that they actually win, and some of them maybe do. But at the end of the day, most racegoers are social ones. And if you were betting next to me and you were going 8-to-1, 16 run handicap, caught the odds first 4, I'll be betting next to you. Standard racecourse terms are a 50 odds first 4. Some bookmakers will choose to go a quarter first 4, and that is their choice. You know yourself, the bookmaker going 16 to 4 places, caught the odds, is going to have an horrendous place book. Now, if he wants to swallow that for whatever reason, that is his choice to do so. It's not mine. I would rather not lay the horse, because why would I want to take a bet that's going to cost me money unless I really, really don't fancy the horse? And unfortunately, whilst people of a certain age, it was drilled into us to shop around and have a bit of value. Again, a lot of punters go racing, and we all see them. They have £2.50 each way, the 13-to-8 on chance, and you know they just want to have a bet. They want to have a smile when they have a bet. They want to have a bit of banter, and that's about it. You know, unfortunately, people like yourself who are looking for every last ounce of value are significantly in the minority. If you can find it, then good luck to you. But you know, the expenses and the racecourses squeeze the expenses to the extent you can't really offer that. And the off-course firms only offer it, as we know, is because 99% of people who have an off-course account or are tapping away on their app are lifetime losers. That's why they've got the account. If they were lifetime winners, they wouldn't have the account. The odd one slips through, of course it does. But that's why they offer bog 6 places, 5 places. They could offer 10 places, it doesn't matter. They know that as soon as someone puts £100 into that app, it's basically their money. They might not get it straight away, might take them a day, a week, a month, but that is their money. It's two different things. Off course and on course is different.
Is there an opportunity cost though, Michael? The amount of time I will go to the races with some of my friends who are there on the piss, and they will say, and this does happen, by the way. Oh, he's only giving 4 places, and I'll say, well, he's a 5th. Time to bugger off. Oh, Bet365 are giving 6 places. So is there then an opportunity cost of, if you were offering a quarter, would you get some of that money? Now, you might not want that money, but they may well bet with you for the rest of the afternoon if the first race is a 19 runner sprint handicap.
They may well do, but what you missing the point again, as in that your friend who's having a 10 or a score or 50, whatever each way is having with Bet365, if I go those places, I'm opening myself up to someone who's having a proper bet, who Bet365 are not going to bet. So I'm taking bets off customers who the off course will not take. And they know that. So they have to, you know, it's like a compromise. They're happy to be on. So they get in virtually the terms they want, and they can be on. They haven't got to fill in affordability checks and other paraphernalia. They're on cash to cash, no commission to pay. So that's it. Your small 5, 10, 25 pound punter is obviously going to be better off getting his 6 places and a 13 runner race. But, you know, that's why they all offer deposit £10, get 50. You don't see anybody doing that on course, because that's just a cost of acquisition to get their punter in, because they want him. They want him on the football, having a builder bet and all that. On course, you bet win each way, forecasts, and that's it. And everyone knows that.
Now,
you can't have your cake and eat it.
Well, the thing is, just to come back on this, the standard terms I don't know if it's written down, but they were always a quarter first four. And then, of course, what happened was we had the absolutely ridiculous situation. I don't know what the highest fraction you bet to, but I remember a bookmaker betting, I think it was an eighth the odds or something at Salisbury. And the entire thing just got ridiculous. So what?
Correct. That's why they standardised it.
Yeah.
But if it was standardised before at a quarter and they could make it pay, because they'd either bet win only or go a quarter, I just failed to see why a fifth came in. It is
But now,
disadvantageous because there's very little
now
risk.
yeah, but now you've got options. You go on course and you look at quiet day. Today there was about 15, 16 bookmakers at Huntingdon, right? And I think there was a 70 run handicap. Well, I can't think, but if there was, there would have been, the majority would have been betting a fifth, a couple would have bet a quarter, and a couple would have looked at the place terms and go, that's not for me, I'm going only. And you, as the on-course customer, have the freedom to go wherever you wish. I mean, that's
But I didn't at Goodwood last year. I didn't at Goodwood last year. So the festival at Goodwood, I was in Tats. There's a 16 runner handicap, and I had to walk all the way down to the silver ring to get a quarter. I mean, it just got absolutely ridiculous. And at the end of the day, there was enough liquidity on the machine. I thought, oh, just fuck this. I'll just back it on the machine.
But again, that's your choice. You've got the choice. What on-course bookmaker offers the choices they want to offer. You, the punter, take the options you want to take. It's as simple as that.
Have you seen much difference in the ring? Twofold, really. Affordability checks, or so-called affordability checks.
Yeah.
Have you seen more footfall or more money your way? And the second question from me would be, this lack of liquidity in Betfair is going through the floor. Even in my time, I can see it going down and down.
Oh yeah, I mean, it's almost non-existent. The only real money comes in probably 3 or 4 minutes to the off. That's about it, really. All the rest is bots and investment houses. That's not a secret. Everybody knows that, and which is why people are more inclined to put a price on the board that they actually want to lay on a quiet day, rather than because they want to play commission agent.
Yeah.
And if they want to play commission agent, or they want to take a risk and they want to lay an 8 monkeys because it's 9.2. Right, and they want to take a chance that it drifts. Again, that's their option to take. It's not an option I want to take, but that's their option to take. But a lot of them now, they're getting caught because people are putting the parcels in their hand, and all of a sudden the music stops and they've got it. They've laid the 4,500 one because it was 5.7 to 37 quid when they laid it, and as soon as they breathe on the machine, now you can lay 5.3, and all of a sudden all they do is chase their own price down. But again, that's up to each individual bookmaker whether he wants to take that chance or not. The one thing I would say, and I've always felt this, is I genuinely think bookmakers should display, or be made to display, a minimum liability. I mean, they tried it in the past, but it was never actually a rule. And what happened was you could misread it because someone was putting up maximum liability, say £1,000, and some punters were reading it, well, I only wanted 10 tenors, so I can't bet there. And then they put up a minimum liability, £1,000, and the bloke wants 300 quid at 10 to 1, and he thinks, well, I can't bet it there because he's only guaranteeing to lose me £1,000. But if it could be worded properly, I would say in this day and age, the bare minimum should be laying a horse to lose £1,000. That would be my bare minimum. And then, you could have increments of 1,000, 5, 10. Some firms would just put, we don't care. But then I think that would definitely make certain people who want to, if it's up to them, if they want to get the tracing paper out on the exchanges, good luck to them. It's up to them, because eventually they're just going to lay something and it's going to collapse like a cheap tent. It happens regular, especially on the all-weather and weak markets. But again, it's their choice. You can't stop them. But I think if those signs were up and worded in a way that couldn't be taken wrongly, I think that would be better, because otherwise you have a situation where, I'm not Bertie Big Bollocks. I will lay a man at Huntingdon today. Like a couple of weeks ago, Huntingdon was on, a regular punter that I know normally bets to someone else. He came into me 5,500 to 4. Wasn't a great deal of room on the machine. I mean, it was bigger. It was like 2.48, but it was like 30 quid. But it was a proper hurdle race at Huntingdon. I thought, yes, I'm going to take that. But I know for a fact he'd previously asked 2 or 3 bookmakers, and some of them said no, some of them offered him 1,000, some of them offered him 2,000. And I'm not knocking any of those bookmakers, because the worst one has offered to lay him to lose £1,400. But I think if people or on-course bookmakers had to display that, I think it would stop those. They were all 9-2. Somebody's going 5-1, but you don't even want to lay a 500-1.
Yeah.
He's affecting my business, because I'm now forced to go 5 if I really want to lay it, but I'm going to lay a 5,000-1, which, that's just, you could say that's just the nature of the beast. But if I could change something, that's what I would change. I think it would make it fairer for all.
Yeah, I've not heard of that. I've not considered that angle before, but yeah, definitely see.
It's never
No,
going
I
to
mean,
get everyone to agree to it.
Yeah.
It drives me insane. You'll go with, I don't know, you'll try and get a monkey on a horse, and I think the worst one, and I will name him because he behaved like a fucking prick, was S&A Bookmakers at Ayr, and I think I wanted 100 each way on at 33 or something. Of course, the bloody thing finished 4th. And he said, no, you're not having anything, and then just put his price down to 20. And I went absolutely bananas. I mean, look, even if you lay me a score each way, I'm not that arsed. It's when they say we don't want anything.
Yeah.
Because then it's like online, and then you think, well, why the bloody hell have I driven 3 hours here?
Yeah, you've got that sympathy, and that is annoying. And the trouble is, some punters, they have that experience with one bookmaker, and because that is their only experience, they assume every bookmaker behaves like that, when in fact they don't. The vast majority of bookmakers will always lay a resemblance of a bet. I'm not going to lay a geezer at 20,001 each way at Huntingdon on a wet Thursday, but I'll probably lay him 250 each way. I've laid the man to lose £6,000, and if he wants to stand there and scream at me, he can do, because that's all he's getting.
No, but that's fine if you lay a reasonable amount or something. That's fine. I still have bookies at Wolverhampton. I won't name him. I'll ask him for 200 on a 3-1 shot, and I know I'll be lucky to get 50 quid. But at least he'll lay something. But it's when they don't lay. It's when they don't lay a bloody bead where it gets you go. So Michael, just changing tack a bit, because obviously I need to make on-course bookmakers pay, and so do various other people. And obviously, I'm not your ideal customer, but do you ever go in when this does happen, where they say we'll bet 2% a runner, we'll bet 3% a runner? Do you ever go in on that?
Well, it may or may not happen up and down the country, but I'll put this to you. The industry SP, you could pick any race on the Racing Post website now and pick a result from any meeting, any day in the last 5 years. Find the Racing Post SP, and it will be give or take around about 2%. Sometimes it's 1.7, 1.8, sometimes it's 2.2, but it'll basically average out at 2%. Now, if an area of on-course bookmakers have agreed to bet 2% a runner, let's say there's 10 books in said area. Could be more, could be less. Let's say there's 10. You could stand there, as S&D would, and look along the line, and it is 101 that they are not all going the same prices. Now, they may or may not all be betting to the, let's say it's 10-horse race, to the allegedly agreed 20% margin. But if you pick the best price from each bookmaker, you would be down to about 1.2, maybe less. And at least you've got an option there. Whereas if you've got 10 off-course accounts open on your phone, it doesn't matter which one you go to, they're all showing the same price once the show has been sent. So whilst I'm not going to agree or disagree with it, I don't think it's quite as bad as what you make out.
Well, it does. I mean, there are tracks in the country where I will ring you when I'm on the way to somewhere. I say I can't make this pay. I'll just piddle around on Betfair and have a nice day out. It's actually somewhere where you don't bet at, but it is I think it is slightly regrettable. Now, just some other questions for our punters out there. Will you take fractions?
Of course, always.
Good. Not many people. Well, there's a few.
SD loves fractions.
You can,
Well,
I mean, when I was a lad, when I was like Clarking, the first time I went Clarking when I was about 14, 15, I'd have a pony to 2 something or a 50 to 3.5. If someone asked me for the fractions, it doesn't matter how small or how big, they've had a bet.
Good, good. Well, that is good. So obviously, look, the value as far as I will tell you now, I view on-course bookies throughout the country, and I'll probably get poleaxed for this. The Southwest you can't win at; it's impossible. You've got about six. We'll go into multi-pitches in a minute, but if you go to Newton Abbot, there's about six with the same. It is absolutely thoroughly monotonous, and you cannot win there. The southeast is only slightly better. The Midlands gets a little bit better, and then obviously you go to the north and Scotland, and it's like a wet dream up there in Scotland. That's why I'm always in Scotland. But where do you stand on these multi pitches? Because we all know the bookmaker I'm on about. You go to certain southern tracks, and it is you said there will be choice. There's literally 3 or 4 of the same bookmaker. He's paid obviously for those pitches on the rail, and there is just no choice at all.
I think somewhere, I think we won't name names, well, I won't, but, places like Cheltenham where they've only got 5 or 6 bookmakers, but, there's nobody's really going to these fixtures anyway. The racecourses don't even want anybody there, let's be honest. They'd rather run it behind closed doors. But, it's like, for example, Ascot on the rails on Saturday. I have 2 pitches on the jumps. I used to have 3 on the flat, and now I've got 2. But I have no issue with the multi pitches, none whatsoever, because I would rather bet next to 2 S&Ds who I know are both going to go 3-1, or let's say there's 2 horses both 7-2 the field in a nice little handicap. You're going 7-2 both of them, and I'm betting in the middle of you. At least I know they're both 7-2. Whereas if one of you is S&D and the other one's D&S, one of you could be going 3-1 and 4-1, and the other one could be going 4-1 and 3-1. Now I can't take a bet. So it's or not can't take a bet, it becomes harder to take a bet. So I have no issue. I don't think it looks great from a consumer's point of view if you do see 2 or 3 of the same name in a sort of like a little block. You should think like, say, oh, there's S&D. Oh, there's S&D. Oh, there's S&D. Whereas I tend to split mine up. On rare occasions, I'll put them next to each other, only because it makes it easier on busy days to take money, because I can take someone out of the next door queue because it's my queue anyway. Whereas obviously I wouldn't stretch over and take someone out of your queue because that's diabolical liberty. But in honesty, I don't really mind it. I can see where the consumer's coming from. If he's a very small sample, like 6 or 7 bookmakers at a meeting, and 3 or 4 of them are the same person, that's not a great look. But that's out of what?
Foss-Lass.
Thousands out of thousands of meetings, that doesn't happen that often.
Well, sometimes you have to run through hoopers to get on them. Let's just say that.
You got a weekend off this weekend?
I have a very rare weekend off. Yes, there's nothing on for me this weekend. So, to be fair, not
You're
a
not
great
at
deal.
Southall all weather now.
No, not for me. I'll be at Leicester next week maybe, and then I think it's Dewsbury, and then the run up to Cheltenham, which is obviously water.
And how many pictures we have at Cheltenham?
1 in the main ring in Tats and 1 on the main rails, which will the front line of Tats, and also I'll probably be there's 21 pitches on the front on the main rail at Cheltenham, and I think I'll be pick about 9 or 10, so just before the halfway cut off.
And what you expect? How was last year's Cheltenham for you? And do you reckon the changes they've made to the programme might help everybody really this year?
Well, I've got a nasty feeling there's going to be at least 4 odds on chances on the Tuesday. I'm hoping there isn't. As I'm sure S&D will know, the drinks rule has changed at Cheltenham this year. People in Tats stores are allowed to take a drink out. That will make a big difference to my Tats pitch. I'm near the end of the front line, and that I should imagine.
There's a brand new bar there as well. Not only can you take your beer out, there's a brand new bar opening there as well.
That should be better, because you normally used to see them just trying to smuggle the drink out behind a wave of red and yellow coats. I believe they're not allowed to take the drink into members, which is an absolute shocking decision. And I think Cheltenham themselves will overrule that after this year, because their own members will say, look, I'm paying extra. I can't even take the drink out, which is a joke. The framing of the races, I never liked it when they took it from 3 days to 4 days, if I'm honest. Dilution is never good. And there's been more odds on chances in the last 10 years than there have been in the previous 30. So that tells you all you need to know. And they've priced themselves out of it. I mean, Cheltenham Jockey Clubs run as a business. Obviously, they'll say, well, our bottom line's gone up, so we're obviously not charging enough. But the Wednesday, I think it was the the Thursday last year, could have been the Wednesday, I think it was the Thursday, very poorly attended. Everyone just goes to Friday. They've almost priced your working man from Ireland. You know, if you're a golf fan and you want to go and watch the Ryder Cup, I'm sure the hotels near the Ryder Cup are quite expensive, but I'm pretty sure, well, I don't know, but I'm pretty sure it's not as horrific as it is for Cheltenham with the flights for the Irish. And they used to be a big part of the betting ring. And there'll still be some come, but plenty will not bother, and you can't blame them. I've got friends in England who used to never miss, used to go for all 3 days, and they used to go for 4 days. That quickly became Tuesday and Friday, and that's very quickly just going to become Friday only. So they need to do something. I think they need to look more longer term rather than just about the bottom line. I think Jockey Club and Arc, let's be honest, if they found out at breakfast that they've got a golden goose, he wouldn't see lunch, because, you know, they just want the profit now. And I understand that some of their bosses and the hierarchy, you know, they're under pressure to beat the bottom line. But, you know, I can see, you know, the Cheltenham Festival is a great thing. And if they're not careful, they're gonna lose a lot of punters.
Yeah. And will you be doing your daily videos for Cheltenham?
Yes, all the previews will be up. I mean, we get there so early, it's beyond belief. But I mean, in the car park for 9 o'clock, probably waddle myself onto the track for about 9:30, work out where we're betting at 10 o'clock. And then once I know everything's up and running, by about 10:30, switch the boards off, maybe leave a few daily doubles up, and have a cup of coffee and go somewhere and do me preview. And then I'll probably do the review in the car park while I'm waiting to get out.
Well, I could come and make an appearance on your preview one day.
Yeah.
To say what I don't
Christ.
know. Yeah. I'll come.
So where does Michael Cannon operate? Let's see if I can name you. Definitely on the July course. Does that woman Nina still work for you? She used to represent you.
Yes.
Yeah.
Nina works for me in the summer.
There was a terrible day on the July course last year. Everybody was 2.5 and I couldn't get a bet on. That's a different story. So July course, Ascot, Cheltenham,
Newbury, Warwick, Leicester, Southall, Huntingdon, Nottingham, Doncaster, York, Worcester, Great Yarmouth.
Most of those, Yarmouth. My God, I go to Yarmouth every year.
Most of those I would have decent pitches. Some of them are just like York's, just a throwaway pitch. Just go up a few Saturdays a year, bet on the back line. Thanks very much. If it even looks like raining, don't go. But when you've only spent 2 and 6 with a pitch, it doesn't matter. If you've paid proper money for it, you feel obliged to go. But I used to have a lot more, but, you know, none of us are getting any younger. So now I like to go on the days that I think are worth going. And like days like today's, Southall, I'm number 1 at Southall on the jumps. I could argue a case I shouldn't be going. And what the other 5 bookmakers are going for, I don't know. But, you know, like I said earlier, you can't tell someone what to do with their own time or money.
No, you can't. You don't bet at do you bet at Wolverhampton? I never see you there when I go down on a Monday.
I used to bet at Wolverhampton a lot back in the noughties and the early teens. I had number 4, never missed, 3 days a week, and the Saturday nights were like a printing press. But it very quickly went off a cliff, and I sold number 4, swapped it with the bloke who was number 10, and I use it 4 days a year. They used to have some music. They used to have music in the middle of August, and then Boxing Day, obviously. And it can be all right, but it's not for going on a Monday night.
Oh, there's some value there on a Monday. Let me tell you, when Glenn, Tim, and John get together, and they upset the regulars. So, do you ever green up or?
I find I have no problem with people agreeing because, to be honest, it's the perfect way to value a pitch. You know, someone could go, for example, he could have gone to Huntingdon today. He could have bet to no figures whatsoever, took all the money, dodged all the results, and thought, oh, wow, that was great. When in reality, it had 0 value. So whilst I wouldn't do it at the minute, I don't have any issue with people who do it because pitches should be used as an investment, and all investments have to make a return. And if some places, you know, you're not going to be able to do it to pay your own expenses, and you're going to be going there and back for nothing. Somewhere like Royal Ascot, when there's 20 runners a race, and a lot of the races are 5th, 1, 2, 3, if some bookmakers want to green there, good luck to them. But again, as we said earlier, with the liquidity in the machine, they could be marching on with an horse at 6-1, and all of a sudden, the 7.6 isn't there, and now all of a sudden the green figure slowly slips towards red. So it's not quite the holy grail.
I mean, it does piss me off. There there's an art as a punter of what horses to back, and I sort of hope, I sort of romanticize that there is a bit of an art in bookmaking and knowing the correct price to lay a horse at. Now, if you're just greening up, it just takes the skill all out of it. I might as well, but he scratch my balls at home.
Well, that's it. But I mean, the thing is, as we've already alluded to, with that risk of Groundhog Day, the people who green do it via the exchanges. There's no money in the exchanges, so it sounds great laying a 4,001 and backing it back at 5.5, but in reality, how often does that happen?
Oh,
Never.
I know. And do you have back bets with other bookmakers?
If I do, if I need one, I would prefer to back it back in the ring.
Yeah.
And sometimes I mean, like a Huntingdon the week before, put a few quid in the ring on a loser and a few quid on a winner. A bookmaker at Ascot played a major chunk the last winner. He bet me 11 or 10 on, and then I think it drifted late in the day, and it was, I don't know, I can't remember, 2-1-6 on the machine, and it was 11 or 10 in the ring. I'm not going to take 11. I'm not going to sit here and lie and say I'm going to take 11 or 10 in the ring when it's 5-4 on the exchange. But if there's not much difference and I'm only marginally worse off betting it in the ring, I would rather bet it in the ring. But what tends to find is if I bet one in the ring, everyone goes, oh, what's happened? And they automatically assume, some of them, that they've made a mistake. When in reality, I would rather have a 2,500 to 1 with the on-course bookmaker than back it at 3.65 on the exchange. Primarily because I'm almost certain there isn't £1,000 in there at 3.65.
Yeah. Well, especially with the commission. Now, a lot of you bookmakers do not get on. I mean, I know you'll get on with Martin because you used to work for him, and obviously the great Dan Haig, who's a very, very good punter, and he has Miami Magic running on Saturday. Now, why don't bookmakers get on?
Well, you say that about any business.
They're all falling out and slagging each other off.
Honestly, you've never. It's like Coronation.
Well, I'll tell you what. I'll
really
answer the question. I'll answer the question. You guys are obviously engrossed in it. I'm quite new to the game of the Racecourse Bookmaker. It's because, as Michael has said many times already in the last 37 minutes, people operate in different ways. Some people might want to green up. Some people bet it back in the ring. Some people go over the machine if they've got an opinion. Some people don't. Some people
I fucking hate green up merchants.
Some people agree to operate to 2%. Some people don't. There's outliers or whatever that may be, and there's that many of them, and they're engrossed in their industry, in their individual niche industry, and there'll be disagreements. So what?
Yeah.
Okay, last question, Michael. Do you think you offer value to the punter?
Well, it took you 38 minutes to ask that.
Yes, because you could bet 8 wins on the trot with me, and you'll still get bet number 9. Now, I might say when you have bet number 9, I still lay you. I might think to yourself, chuffing hell. The last 8 bets he's had have either A, shortened, or B, won, or both. So now, like we said earlier, with us stopping the music in the parcel, I'd rather have the bet first and have a chance of doing something before the music stops. I have never, ever, ever barred a punter from having a bet. I might have slightly reduced his stakes, like a famous stake Yarmouth one day were there years ago, and a bloke come up, he wanted a 66 monkeys each way. It was a midweek racing. I said, you better have 100 each way, sir. And he looked at me like I'd just crawled out from under a rock. I said, I've laid you to lose £8,000, sir. I said, if you don't want it, you don't want it. Anyway, he said, no, I don't want it. He won because I bet on the rails there. He wandered into the ring, needless to say. 5 minutes later, he come back and he had to back it with me at 33. But, I would never say to someone you can't have a bet, but, everything's, like I said earlier, so one person's £5,000 bet is a drop in the ocean. Another person's £5,000 bet is a decent bet. But always lay a man a reasonable bet, else it shouldn't be on your board. And that's always been what I then do with it. That's my decision. But, and we're not in a position to make people bet with us. We have a nice colour board, like to turn up, reasonably presented. This time of year, you go more for warmth than you do good looking. But you give a service, and there's a bit of banter. And like most things, from the customer's experience, they must realise we have expenses to be there. I mean, even today, it's a piss poor day at Huntingdon, and I'm 300 quid behind before I take a bet. If I just want to lay the exchanges, I can do that sat at home in my pajamas and a cup of coffee. It cost me nothing. So I know it's my choice to go to the races, but at the end of the day, you do try and give a service, and I genuinely believe we offer good value, especially to those people who can't get bets on, or I haven't got an account with the firm, haven't had one for decades. Funnily enough, I just tried to have a little each way double on two in the festival, the Naiad horse, or whatever it was. I was the only account I've got with the firm. I shan't name them. And there's about 200 quid in the account, and I put a pony each way double, 16 to 1 and 18 to 1, freely available at 20 and 25 elsewhere. And I was offered the sum total of 43 pence each way. So, if that's customer service, then I'll Mickey Mouse.
Well, on that reasonably positive note, the value is in the ring. We'll call it a day there. We could be here all night.
Come and see you next week at Huntingdon, Michael.
If it's not
one of those run around the ring videos.
Yeah, we'll get you on one of our. He does a good impression of John McCrick, so we'll get you on video on Racers Now at the next time SD's at Huntingdon, which I think is pretty soon in the calendar.
There's a student day at bloody Donny, so I won't be going there, will I?
Right, well, that's a whole different subject. Right, thanks for tuning in, everybody. We're sponsored by our friends at Welcome Estates. Thanks for Michael for coming on, and we'll be back soon here on Racers Now.
Good.